Hi, this is Jim Gibson. Thank you for coming to my channel today, CableSupply.com. Very much appreciated. Hey, listen, before we even get started, become a subscriber and ring that bell. You know what I mean by ring the bell is you push the upper bell there when it's offered to you, and that means you get notified every time you go to YouTube that we produced a new video. So I really appreciate it. Subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and write comments. If you'd like to comment on something, go ahead and do it. Be more than happy to read your comments. I read them. I don't read them every day, but probably close to once a week or something like that. But today we're going to talk about patch cords, different types of patch cords, different applications for certain patch cords. I'm going to help you with that. I'm going to help you decide what you need for your application. So there's a lot of different patch cords. You know, there's different categories, 5E, 6. 6 is the most popular. There's other patch cords that are even higher than 6. Now, some people ask about the different categories. Well, it used to be category 3, and that was many decades ago, probably before some of these people watching this video would even recognize category 3. But that was a great category when it first came out, because I was putting in networks using telephone cable. And when category 3 came out, man, that was fantastic at the time. Of course, we had hubs rather than switches, and hubs are horrible. I can't even buy Cat 3 anymore. I can't even buy Cat 5 anymore. It's just not out there. And I hear people talk about it on YouTube videos. Oh, Cat 5 is great. Cat 5 is so old you shouldn't even buy it. So what's out there now, what people are buying today in 2022 is basically category 6. Now there's different categories, so I'm going to explain this really quick for those of you who don't know what the categories are. But there's different categories. The higher categories, the more capabilities. Now, if you're cabled behind your wall there at your business or home, and it's Cat 5e or even Cat 5, let's say, it's still there from 20 years ago, and you want to buy patch cords, you can always buy Cat 6. So you can always go up in the category. You can always plug in Cat 6 at a Cat 5e or a Cat 5 or anything else. It would still work. In fact, it's an upgrade. It would actually do fine. There's no problems with it. Now, you don't want to go the other way. If you have a category 6 jack on the wall, I'm sorry, a category 5E jack on the wall, then you don't want to, Let's start over again here. If you have a category 6 jack on the wall, okay, you don't want to use a category 5 patch cord. Now, will it work? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it'll work. No problems. I never had any problems with it that way. But in reality, all these categories are somewhat compatible. So if you have a Cat 5e jack on the wall and cable behind the wall, things like that, and you want to buy category 6, that's even better yet. Yeah, it's not going to hold you back. Now I remember, I don't know if I discussed this already, but I remember starting years ago when I first started cabling businesses and all. Back in the 80s, I was cabling with telephone cable, and we were using a thing called a Davidson hub, and it was a hub, and it was a godsend. It really worked. It worked great. And then, of course, Apple Talk came in, and that worked pretty good, and that was over telephone cable too. And that was the first time you didn't have to use SneakerNet, which was running from your computer with your diskette, not a floppy. Well, maybe it was floppy back then too. I don't know. But a diskette, and running it over to someone else to copy a file. So they started learning networking, and Apple Talk was fantastic if you knew how to put it in right. It really worked well, but you had to have termination resistors and things like that. Once you put it in right, it worked solid. It was solid. Not very fast, but it was solid. And then after that, of course, we got category 5. After Cat 3, I don't know what happened to 4. But it didn't pass things or something, or people didn't like it. But category 5 came out, and category 5 was really good. It was faster than Cat 3, and it really did the job and everything else. It was a pretty good category, and it lasted a couple of years. And people used it, and we sold many boxes and cables of category 5 installed thousands of boxes of Category 5 back in the 90s and the early 2000s. And then they came out with Cat 6, and I thought, man, where is this thing going to end? And Cat 6 was kind of expensive back then compared to 5E. And so it got to the point to where people were sticking with 5E. And all of a sudden they started realizing, Cat 6 is about the same in price. It's a little higher. You just pay a little more premium. So if you're cabling a building, cable it at least in Cat 6, maybe higher. I don't know. I don't think you need fiber optics behind the wall running to your computer. Some people have asked me to do that, and there's no real advantage to that unless you have specialized equipment that needs the bandwidth. The only people I know that have that is imaging software used in medical facilities, or if you have electromagnetic issues going through the walls. Anyway, I digress. We're talking about patch cords today. So if you're going to buy a patch cord, in my opinion, buy Category 6. Even if you have a Category 5E jack on the wall, you can always go up. You don't want to go down. You can always go up. So you can put a Cat 6 in a 5E jack. I wouldn't recommend a 5E patch cord in a 6 jack, but it'll still work. It'll still work. It's no problem. And you're going to get probably enough bandwidth to do what you need to do. Probably 99.9% chance it's going to give you the bandwidth you need for your computer. The issue in bandwidth is not necessarily the cabling or the patch cords in the wall. The issue with bandwidth is always your ISP. They're the bottleneck on your network. So if you're doing a lot of internet stuff and you're uploading files and videos and downloading videos and stuff like that, that's your bottleneck, most likely. Again, 99.99% of the time, that's your bottleneck. It's not the cabling or the patch cord. So anyway, let's start talking about some patch cords. Now there's some different patch cords here that I'm going to show you. First I'm going to show you the ugly, the good, the bad, the ugly. This is ugly. Even though a lot of people like it and they think they're getting a good patch cord, no, this is horrible. This is a horrible patch cord. Has a lot of problems with this patch cord. Now, will it work? Probably, no problem. I don't think you're going to have a problem with it, but I would not buy that patch cord, and I'm going to show you why. Now, one of the things that people ask, is it a crossover cable or is it straight through? So we're going to solve that problem right now, and I'm going to show you how you can tell the difference. You don't need to know color code. Just notice that all the colors match on both ends on the RJ45s, and every patch cord has RJ45s. I mean, unless you're doing specialty patch cords like fiber optics and all. There's always exceptions, and someone's going to tell me that in the comments. I do like your comments, even though sometimes you're missing the point. So anyway, if you can see it, all the colors match, and because of that match, they're straight through. And there's a reason you put them in a certain way. Okay, so you just can't throw cables in there and cramp down and match. You come up with your own standard and match it. It isn't going to work, man. It isn't the way it's done. It's not professional, and you're going to have problems with it. But this one, it's so hard. I just wonder if it's solid wire. So let's take a look. Okay, I'm going to cut it in half here. So let's cut it in half. I'm going to cut it in half, or not actually in half, closer to the end. Yes, I'm destroying patch cords. And we're going to look at solid and stranded, and this looks like it's solid. Now this little wire, this looks dorky, this wire stripper. This is the best wire stripper I ever had, to be honest with you. This is what every technician should have. It's cheap. The blade, after about 100 or 200 cuts, gets a little dull. It still works, but it gets a little dull. But it is fantastic. It is the best. Now I know it has this little dorky punch down, but hey, if you're only punching down one jack, that's fine. But in this case, the strip off the outer coating. The outer coating, by the way, doesn't do anything except protect the cables. Okay, so let's look at, here's all the colors in here, and I'm going to take my handy dandy, man, this thing is like wearing out on me. I've had it so long. All the springs are missing. Used to be springs in this thing, but I haven't seen those springs in years. But anyway, this is kind of a cool little device because you really don't strip much anymore. Okay, so So I was wrong. This is stranded. It felt like it was solid core. Now the only time you need solid core in cable is when you have a IW, inside wire, they call it, things like that. When you're cabling a building, and this I think is a solid core, so I'm going to open it up and see. This is inside wire. Yeah, I can still see someone wrote. You see someone wrote the number there? Oh, that's not the way to do it. I mean, that's time consuming. You want to do it that way, that's fine. You know, it comes with a little string. You pull it back. You pull it back and then you cut off from here. But I have videos on that, why you want to do that. So let me open this up here. I'm standing up behind the camera, leaning over, so it takes a little bit of effort to do some of these things that I will once do. Then I will show you what it looks like. And you can marvel at my little trick of unwinding a solid cable. Now you want solid copper, not copper clad. Copper clad's cheap, copper is more expensive, quality cable is copper. So I'm just going to strip this now. And again, people don't do stripping anymore. Used to have to strip cables. It's rarely that people have to strip cables, and this stripper has about had it. I used it so many times. So this is a solid cable. You see it? So there's a big difference between solid and stranded. Now, why don't you use solid for patch cords? Well, because you want that flexibility, that's first of all, and stranded does that for you. Plus, it doesn't stress out and cause damage to the wires if you keep on bending them, 200 times. Now, you can bend these, that's okay, as you're putting them in the wall, but if you want something like a patch cord, you want it to be able to flex, things like that. You'll notice most things like extension cords, things like that, are all stranded. Now, on the stranded stuff, there's a reason for that, and I don't want to go into the physics, that it lasts better under bending than a solid does. It doesn't affect. I mean, it's not like, well, I got stranded so I get less signals through it because a solid is this way, but stranded, no. These things are rated at what they claim on the patch cord. And by the way, a lot of people, I have people, not a lot, but I have people call and they'll say, do I need plenum rated patch cords? No. I don't even know where to buy plenum rated patch cords. Now, if you're running it in a plenum, you shouldn't be. But if you're running in a plenum, maybe you need plenum rated, I don't know. But I often wonder about that question. So this is stranded, and this is normal in patch cords that you have stranded, and I know you can see it. And this is healthy, and it's just as good as a solid. And it's a twist. It has its normal twists there on the different pairs. We always, when we talk about a cable, we're always talking about pairs, not individual wires. So this is a 4-pair. Everything today is a 4-pair, okay? And wires that go behind the wall, that's going to be 4-pair. This is going to be 4-pair, and they all have the same color code. This is the color code. We're not going to talk about color code today because I'm not talking about connecting this to anything except through the end. It says RJ45. Now let's look at the end here, and I'm going to show you some differences in some other patch cords. This is called a bubble boot with stress relief, and it's also injected molded. So if you look real close, I don't know if you can see it, but you can see when they injected the plastic, it went all the way up to the end, and that's what you want. So you want injected molding. I don't care for bubble boot. It's because it gets really stiff. You see, I can't even push down on that. I'm really pushing hard. But there is a way to have that open, and that is you just take a credit card and you push down on that, and you avoid the bubble boot. And now, a nice thing about any type of protection there is when you pull the cable through the other cables, like sometimes you have to repatch something, it doesn't get caught and break that little clip on the RJ45 mod plug. So that little plug right there has that clip, and I'm sure you're familiar with it. All patch cords have RJ45s, okay? Or they're not computer patch cords, and all of them have 4 pairs. So let's take a look at my favorite. which is what I sell, and it's going to be a premium. It's going to cost more than the others. So it looks like it's going to cost not significantly more. Again, excuse me while I open this up off camera screen. I don't want to hit the camera and my back is hurting from leaning over. But you get it like this. One person complained that they didn't like the fact it was individually wrapped. Jeez, man, I don't know. You have to get up and put your shoes on in the morning. That's a hassle too. But anyway, make a long story short, this is the type I like, and I call these flex booted. And I'll show you the reason why. It's because this little thing here makes it easy, really easy, to open up, to pull it out of the switch or the patch panel or the wall or the back of the computer. These are hard. They're really hard, especially when they get old. So the difference is obvious. You can see it. It's also heavier. The boot's heavier. It's bigger. The stress relief thing, you shouldn't put too much stress on these anyway. They work fine, but I mean, I've seen people where they have them in the wall for years and it looks like that. And they'll hold up. This is a top quality patch cord. I mean, this is the best you're going to get. And this flex boot is what I recommend. And that's what we sell on the website. And some people say, well, you're selling it on the web, you're getting it, telling how great it is because you sell it. No. I've been in the industry for a long time, man. And I get tired of the junky stuff, especially the stuff you buy a switch or a product and they come with these little dorky cheap patch cords that give you trouble, and then you have to go back and fix the patch cord and they think it's you rather than the cheap patch cord that came with the product. The nice thing, again, this is molded. You can actually, I thought the mold was sticking out. But if you actually look, it's the same thing. It's pushed in. So it's injection molding. It forms this boot which is actually attached to the wire rather than just putting a boot, sliding it over, crimping and sliding the boot back. This is actually heat shrunk or heat attached to the wire. This is really a top quality cable. So let's open it up, okay? So I'm going to cut this. I wish this table was higher. It'd be easier for me to show you some things. So let's see, where's my favorite dandy wire stripper? Oh, I think I gotta push it a little more. There you go. Now I know, look at that twist in there, man, a lot tighter twist. It's probably a higher category than this one. You can see the twist. So this is, let me see what category I opened. Cat 6. It's a Cat 6. This is probably a 5E. This one is probably 5E. It's okay. It'll do the job. Cat 6 is a little different. Also, the patch cords I sell have this separator in it. The Cat 6 patch cords has that little separator in there. I mean, this is top-notch patch cords. You're not going to get any better than this. This really does a great job. You're not going to have crosstalk and things like that. It's not only individual pairs twisted, but if you look real close, you can see that the thing itself, the separator, is twisted also. So there's a physics behind it, but this is not about the physics. This is just a demo on the products, stuff like that, which have applications to you. So these patch cords can be used, from the wall to the computer to the printer to those type of devices. And the other patch cords that I'm going to show you today are only used at the switch and the patch panel. So let me strip this back. Again, all these are tested and made by computers and high speed. And this is also stranded, and it's copper, 100% copper, which I would expect nothing less. So this is a quality patch cord. It really is. And it's a Cat 6. So I don't think you would have ever any problem with that. And again, they come in different sizes, 1 foot up to, 100 feet. if you're at using 100 feet, you should put the cable behind the wall, not the patch cord, but what they call IW, inside wire, you know, solid copper, the thing that we talked about here. This is inside wire. It comes in a reel or a box of 1,000 feet, and you use that to cable a building. So now, drum roll please. This is the most interesting development, I think, in patch cords today. And this development is in patch cords called slim. And look at the difference in this. Let me get the real small one, because I really don't want to open these up. It's not that they're more expensive. They look so good, man. I just hate to just tear it open, and maybe I'll just use it. If I can get this open. Guess I should open it up before we did the video, but these are ad hoc videos. So just trying to answer a lot of questions that people have about this stuff. So this is what you call a thin cable. There is a difference. You see the difference, how thick this is. This is actually pretty thin compared to others. But here's a slim. They call them slim. Now, the application with slims is that what you want to do is you want to use those around your patch panels and your routers and your switches back in the data room. And what is nice about them is they don't bulk out your cable management. So if you just use regular patch cords, which is fine, you can do that, but they bulk out your cable management really quick, and it gets really sloppy after a while. Where these are rated at the same rating as the thick ones, and you know, you're plugging into the patch panel, and then you're plugging into the what do you call it, to the switch. It's not going to be a lot of drooping. They're not heavy. There's not a lot of weight on them like this, bending them, things like that. And it really is a lot neater. And these are really cool. And also the same thing. It has that a flex boot, that little flex handle there, that you know, you can easily pull them out rather than the where is that? Rather than wherever that's at. Where is that? Oh, here it is. Rather than this one with the bubble boot. I mean, I can't even push that. So I don't sell bubble boot unless I can't get the product anywhere else. There's some specialty products, that's all they sell. Some of the shielded cable and all, that's all that they sell. So you got to deal with that, I guess. But you can use a credit card to open up the bubble boot, or you know, pushing down on this. If I'm doing it right there, let me see. Just pushing down on that right there with a credit card really makes a difference. So there are the different things. We're just now putting up slim cables on our website. Should be up there if you go look at them. But this is pretty much the difference in patch cords. So just remember, you're looking at buying patch cords, okay? So you know, what category is your network? The higher you go in the category, the more it can support bandwidth, and that's why. Now, you know, again, you can mix and match Cat 6 with Cat 5e patch cords. It's kind of not professional, but you can do that. Or you can also at the same time, you know, if you have 5e, you can always put in Cat 6. That's easy, and that's a good upgrade, and it's not going to hurt anything. If you use 5e category patch cords in a Cat 6 install, it will still work, most likely. I don't think there's going to be any problems with it, but it's really good to use Cat 6 these days, because that's what everyone is buying. That's what everyone is installing. So, you know, if you're buying, like some people buy hundreds of patch cords, if you're going to invest that much in patch cords and you want to reuse them in the future, well then, you know, buy the higher ones, the Cat 6, not the 5es, because then you can use them in the future, you use them at other facilities or whatever. But these things are great, man. I just love these. Now, oops, I hit the camera. Glad it didn't fall over. So these slim ones, you know, it says slim also. They're just a good deal, but they're a good deal for the computer room, for the data closet, things like that. And they're all, of course, Cat 5e, and they're all straight through. I don't sell crossover cable anymore. What I sell is a little, all mine are orange, a little module that plugs in, has RJ45 male on one end and RJ45 female on the other end, and it's called a crossover adapter. Very few people need crossover adapters these days. If you're a technician, you should have one. If you're you know, a data guy working on equipment, you don't need one. But you know something else too. If you're a data guy and you're in a big building, or you know, you work for a decent sized corporation, you should have some extra patch cords. Again, these patch cords should be for your data room and your data closet. These patch cords, the thicker ones, should be for out in the office area, things like that, going from the wall to the computer. What they used to call line cords. Don't do that anymore. People don't even know what I'm talking about when I say line cord. But you should always have a group of these different sizes. This is a 3-footer. You know, you don't know what you need. Sometimes people buy 7-footers and don't realize that 7-footer really doesn't get you very far behind a wall and around the desk. You really need something like a 10-footer. That's generally speaking. If you're a technician, you should have a slew of different colors and different lengths and things like that. Or your company needs to standardize on one color. My company always standardized on blue. So we had blue cable. As you saw already, blue IW cable, and of course it fell on the floor. I'm not going to reach down and get it, but a blue IW cable, inside wire, Cat 5e, Cat 6 cable, and we always had the same color patch cords because no matter where we went, we could add another patch cord and it wouldn't stick out, you know, like purple. Government buys a lot of purple. I don't know why, but it's a nice color. Red, yellow, we got all those colors. White, gray, not much difference between white and gray. Green, I like green. Some people like green. I just like blue. Blue has been my favorite color in all my installs, things like that. And hey, listen, I'm droning on here. I'm glad you stayed with me this long. Please subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and ring the bell. And when you do things like subscribe and you make comments, good or bad comments. When you make comments, YouTube looks at that and says, oh, this is a good video. He really liked it, so we're going to offer it to more people. So if you don't give me a thumbs up, you don't subscribe, I get offered to less people. If you really want to pay me back for this time in making this video, just subscribe. Subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and ring the bell, and I'll be a happy camper. Thank you for watching. Again, this is Jim Gibson with CableSupply.com, and I hope you have a wonderful day.